Welcome to Tiger Basketball Report, episode number 7. I'm your host, Devin LaTulippe, joined by two wonderful co-hosts, Noah Zandy and Landon Speck.
What's up?
How's it going? Memphis 2-0 conference play.
I was doing in conference play.
Yeah.
Beautiful segue, Landon. Great, get right to the point here. We have two conference games to cover today, FAU and North Texas. One game was a blowout win for Memphis, FAU, of course, and then a very tight North Texas game, which I don't know if we were all expecting. I don't think we touched on our expectations in North Texas game in the last pod. But yeah, let's just get right on into it. What were you guys' initial thoughts following the FAU game?
Well, I guess you can group these games two games together, and these are probably the two toughest games that Memphis is going to play on this conference schedule. And it was interesting that they started out the conference season with both of them. Now, FAU on the road, that's another good quad 2 win. Now, I feel like we've been using this terminology a lot, so I was kind of going to go over it real quick just for the viewers or listeners who don't, whichever one you're accessing on. Those who don't know, a quadrant 1 team is qualified as a home game against a top 30 team in the net rankings, a neutral game against 1 through 50, and then a road game against 1 through 75. And then quad 2 is a home game against 31 through 75, a neutral game against 51 through 100, and then an away game against teams ranked 76 through 135. So this is basically the upper echelon of the net rankings, which is basically the D1 men's basketball, like officially from the NCAA, using all the metrics, everything, those rankings. So North Texas came in ranked 70 in the net, as well as 70 in KenPom, and then Florida Atlantic was hovering right around that 100 mark. So these were both two good quadrant 2 wins for Memphis, which I haven't checked honestly to see if this is still true, but I know Memphis all season has led the country in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 wins. So they just added 2 more of those wins to their resume with these. Now Florida Atlantic specifically, Memphis just kind of went wire to wire in this one. I mean, we can talk about a lot, but I mean, this is just a game Memphis dominated. Tyrese Hunter and PJ Haggerty, your two best players this season, came out firing. They've just been unbelievable all year. They're two guards you can rely on to carry you. The shot making was on display again here. Memphis hot from 3. Y'all have any thoughts on this one?
I want to look at the shooting statistics of this one. Anytime you get a team that's shooting 32%, holding them to 32% from the field, it's a good sign. And I think the big key in this one, FAU shot 16% from 3 in this game. That is extremely, extremely low, while Memphis was shooting over 50% and over 50% from the field. So I think this is one where you would expect FAU to come out and play for this game because this is obviously one of the biggest games on the schedule for them. And it's sort of had that like rivalry feel coming into it, but they just did not show up at all today, and Memphis did.
Yeah, that would have been my idea too. Is that FAU really shot themselves out of the game. They really, in what Memphis had 19 turnovers in this game, was ridiculous. That shouldn't like never happen. But Memphis was really giving FAU opportunities to keep themselves around. But FAU was really just shooting themselves in the foot, so to speak, and kept themselves out of the game. The level of play, it just wasn't. Memphis Memphis did not play their best basketball in this game, and they still won by 30 points. So that should tell you about the difference in talent level in the conference, and kind of the rivalry like we've talked about. It's not really there anymore with Dusty May and Michigan. It's just not the same. It didn't feel the same. I mean, obviously we weren't there. We were watching TV, but you could feel that it didn't really feel like the students got for it. The FAU players really took it as serious as they did last year. Even the Memphis players kind of treated it like just another conference game, which really is and all. When you take a step back and just look at it. But I was kind of missing that feel of like a rivalry because it felt like they kind of elevated the plays, and it's kind of sad to watch. And yeah, 19 turnovers for Memphis. The assist was not. There was 15 assists, so that's pretty high for Tyrese this year. I don't know the exact average, what the average is like. It's probably not 15 though. So that was good to see that team to improve. But 19 is just too high. It's just ridiculous. It should never be that high. It's kind of the first half. There's not great basketball around. And also, the game featured a weird time with Coach Harley and Jordan, where I don't know exactly what happened on the court, and we didn't really see what the interaction was because it was on TV. But the commentators mentioned that Harley ran down the bench and yelled at Jordan after taking him out of the game. I don't know what came before that. I couldn't really tell. I didn't see unless someone could point out to me. But Jordan sat for a while. And then when he did come back I mean, Memphis was up by 5 points, so it was probably just a test in the waters. I think he played minutes with Cisse and Dane Danger. So I believe it was PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, Jordan, Cisse, and Jones on the court at the same time, and just a really bizarre sequence for the Tigers. Which it actually worked out successfully because of just how the lines worked between them and FAU. But it was just a bizarre game to watch. And then the game ends with I think, a lob to Musa Cisse. It was just bizarre. Like, it was just a weird game that was just so heavily slanted in the favor of the Tigers, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch, I guess, when you just look strictly at the sport.
It
Any other thoughts about FAU?
It definitely was a fun watch. I think it was unexpected, but it was a pleasant surprise that Memphis went on the road and blew them out. We can't overstate how big of a deal it is to go on the road in college basketball and win, especially the way Memphis did. Now, you hit on it, but we have to be very clear here. This is not the FAU team from the last two seasons. Dusty May's gone to Michigan. He took Vlad Golden with him, a guy that I'm sure many Memphis fans are familiar with. Elijah Martin is now at Florida. Janelle Davis is now at Arkansas. All these players that have been carrying them the last couple seasons are no longer there. Now, relative to the American Athletic Conference, this is a good win for those listening. I'm doing air quotes. Um, they're not going to come across too many quad two opportunities in this conference, and Florida Atlantic's one of the few. So the fact that they went in there and took care of business with an exclamation mark was a very big deal for Memphis, and I think it's a very good thing. This game, another player I wanted to talk about in this game was Dane Danger. He had 16, shooting 7 of 12 from the field with 5 rebounds, an assist, and a block. He also played very well in the North Texas game, which we'll get to soon. But he's just been another big time player for this team, and this has kind of been the theme of Penny's tenure, I guess, in the last 3, 4, 5 years ago. Ever since the transfer portals became as big of a deal as it is, people like to talk about how bad it is for the sport, how much it's messing things up, how much is different because of it. Well, what Penny's done at Memphis is go, and he's just taken complete advantage of it. Now, last season, obviously, we know what happened. He went and got all these new players, rebuilt the roster, and it didn't work. Well, this year, he did the same thing. He doubled down on it, and it's working very well. Now, the main thing I want to highlight that Penny's done in the portal is he's found 3 All-American caliber players from the portal just this decade, with Kendrick Davis coming over from SMU, and then David Jones from St. John's, even though he's only stayed a year last year, and now PJ Haggerty. We got to appreciate PJ Haggerty. I feel like we don't talk about him enough on this podcast because we're just used to it. We've gotten used to how good he is. PJ Haggerty is awesome. He is an incredible college basketball player, and Penny went and got him out of the portal. The third player that's been like this that Penny's gotten. I think that's insanely impressive. And as bad as we talk about the portal, I think what he's done in it needs to be propped up. And PJ's great. He's been awesome. He was great in this FAU game. He was even better in the North Texas game that we'll get to here in a minute.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. And even Danger from Illinois, he had a great game against Florida Atlantic too. I believe he scored
He had 16.
16, and they
That's not
all
just about to
came.
get to. I forgot to mention him with the portal guys.
Yeah,
But Dane Danger is another portal success that I was getting to. This trio of guards plus him, and obviously all the other players on the team that's playing in the rotation. But really, those 3 plus Dane, getting those 4 out of one portal class, it can't go overstated how great that is.
yeah. Dane Danger had 16, all after that fourth foul. So after that fourth foul, which is like a little, I think it was like the 14-minute mark or 12-minute mark of the second half, and they scored 16 for the rest of the game, which is just unbelievable. We talked about Dane Danger and like paying attention to his footwork on the pod before. Um, he's unbelievable. You love and miss that kind of old style of game. No, any more thoughts on the FAU game before we move on?
Not really about the FAU game, but I do want to add on to what Landon was talking about. I also think it's important to highlight that Haggerty's an underclassman get, where the past 2 guys have been one and done sort of deals. So I think it's important because he's only going to get better the more he's in this system, the more he plays. So I think that's an underrated part of Penny pulling him from the portal.
That's a great point because he obviously he has NBA potential, but he's not the type. I don't think at least he's not the type to bolt after this season. I think there's still some building to do on his game. The 3-point shot's got to become more consistent with him, which honestly this year it has. It's been a pleasant surprise how well he shot from 3 this season, especially in the North Texas game where he went 3 for 3. So that's a good way to transition into North Texas.
Segue
Let's
into
talk
the
about
North
it.
Texas game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the North Texas game. Now, this one was we talked in the last pod about how North Texas is one of the better teams in the conference, probably up there with FAU. I was not expecting this to be a 4-point game, especially the FedEx Forum. I don't know what you guys thought going into it. But North Texas played Memphis tight. Defense kept them in the game. Obviously, Memphis turnovers kept them in the game like they do every game. Interesting though, Memphis was out rebounded 30 to 21 in this game. I think 12. I think 12 of those rebounds for Texas were offensive. So kind of like shocking, even though we probably have, like Cisse and Kim Daniels are like good rebounding next. We'll see Sam at least. That's like I thought that was odd. Texas came in with dominating boards like that. We'll talk about PJ Haggerty's game in a second. But any more thoughts about the any opening thoughts about the North Texas?
I think we maybe undersold a little bit on the last episode how tough of a game this was going to be. North Texas is solidly the second best team in the American. As I mentioned earlier, they're 70 in the net, 70 in Kempom. So it's another a high quad two win. And they honestly try and play a different sport than Memphis to an extent. Memphis wants to run, get up, fill the scoreboard. North Texas is the exact opposite. They slow you down. They turn the game into a rock fight, which Memphis scored 68 points in this game and won. So North Texas in a successful game wants to make you play their game. It kind of reminds me of Virginia, the good Virginia teams under Tony Bennett, and North Texas kind of replicating that style. And this honestly, the biggest thing that maybe not the biggest thing, but one of the bigger things that stuck out to me this game is I think this is a game that last year's team would have lost. And this year's team, although North Texas kept it close, every time Memphis tried to pull away, they would just get right back in it. They'd go on a little 4 or 5-0 run. It didn't matter. Memphis just kept swinging, and they ended up winning by 4. And we were just talking about him, but PJ Haggerty, 27 points, 11 of 14 from the field, 3 of 3 from 3-point range, which I remember one very big one late from the corner. He's unbelievable. I mean, this is your guy. You need a bucket, you're going to him. You need a clutch time basket, clutch time 2 points. This is who you're going to, and he really showed that in this game. And he was unreal.
I think it's a credit to North Texas that they didn't have a particularly great shooting game, and they were still able to stay within 4. I was at the game too. Everyone was pretty, I think, on edge throughout this one. I think you always knew Memphis was going to win throughout the game. I felt like I there was never really a point in the second half where I was like, okay, Memphis is in like a ton of danger right now, which I think is also a credit to this Memphis team because, like you said last year, I don't think this is a game they would win, especially against such a solid opponent. So that was pretty much my thoughts from it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I never felt that Memphis was in serious danger of losing, just because every time a run would start, I mean, it's game of runs, right? So that's like the most cliche thing you can say about basketball. But every time a run would start for North Texas, it seemed like Memphis would make like a huge play. Like the one that comes to mind at the top is the Jordan steal off the end where he stole the pass himself and then takes it back to the basket and like contorts his body in a crazy way and finishes. It's like nutty. And then you talked about the three. He actually had two massive threes. The one from the corner, which I think was like the 4 or 5 minute mark, and then the one crazy moon shot from like the logo to
Oh
pretty much
yeah,
seal the game.
I swear
yeah,
that
that
almost hit
one.
the top of it. It felt like it
It
almost
was
hit the top of
yeah,
the arena
Man,
when he shot that.
yeah. I could. It was nice. I was like, I don't know. That was that's just the shot you make when you're the guy on the team. Like when he just like what I mean? Like similar to David Jones last year. Like when you're just like the guy on the team, like, hey, we need a bucket. Like, what do you got for us? And it's just like that's the shots you make. Um, so you could tell. I mean, ever since the first 2 games of the season, you're like, oh, so this is the guy that's gonna. We need like a bucket. Yeah, it's been unbelievable. And you're right, Landon. Like you said, we haven't really talked up BJ Haggerty enough on the pod in the projects. Like I feel like it's such a given. He's like unreal. Big time to like spread the wealth and bring like other players. But Haggerty's the orchestra of the scene, the point guard, the quarterback. He makes sense.
I mean, he's going to be in an All-America team, and I think he's top 10 right now in odds for the Wooden Award. That's such a huge deal. Obviously, I feel like growing up around this program, that would have been such a big deal. It feels like maybe longer ago, but I think that needs to be magnified more. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's one of the best players in college basketball.
Scored a 7th career point in this game. Was a 7th. Yeah, good deal for him.
Congratulations, Dan.
Yeah,
Congratulations, of
congratulations,
course.
PJ.
Yeah, sure that means a lot coming from us. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah. Um, any more thoughts on this North Texas game? I have I want to spotlight one more player. While I do that, while I figure out exactly what I want to say, no, you got anything else to say about the North Texas game?
Really.
Landon, you got anything?
It's just it's just one you love to win. Obviously, if you come out of this one as a loser, losing at home sucks. I mean, I think when you look at the conference schedule, that's the key. Is you got to defend home floor because we've talked about how hard it is to win on the road. I think it is a big deal though. They got this game at home against North Texas because obviously this is the best team that they're going to play out of this schedule, and I think it's very 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 encouraging that they got the two toughest games out of the way to start, and now they're 2-0. So I think that gives the team some positive momentum going into the rest of the schedule. And I also think though we've talked about it. I feel like every episode when this comes up, you got a lot of basketball left. In a lot of games, you're going to be favored in against a lot of teams where you're going to be their Super Bowl. I think as Sam would say, it's free hot dog night, free T-shirt night, free pizza. All of that, and that's just something they're going to have to deal with. But it's going to be up to Penny. It's going to be up to the veteran leadership of this team to keep everybody locked in and ready to go. And this next game Saturday, East Carolina, it doesn't matter that it's East Carolina. You got to go in and play like it's UConn again. And that's the challenge of playing in this conference. But it's something Memphis is going to have to deal with. And if they're a great team, then that's just something they're going to have to do. One more thing I wanted to point out: Memphis is ranked 19th in the AP poll this week. I think they've been underranked in the AP poll the entire season. If you just stack up Memphis's resume against anybody else, just pure resume, forget preseason rankings, forget, I guess, the recency bias of losses like the Mississippi State game. Memphis is for sure to me a top 15 team, and hopefully they can show at this conference schedule.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I definitely agree with you about the underrated aspect. Last thing about the North Texas game, then we'll move on to expectations, unless anyone else has anything to say. Dane Danger, next leading scorer in the North Texas game, 14 points. He had 7 turnovers. Uh, can't be doing that. Can't be, especially not Dane Danger. Can't be turning the ball over 7 times. That's unreal. I don't really have much to add to that. I just think it's absurd, and I just wanted to say that out loud into a podcast.
Well, the turnovers have been a story, I think.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
I've been talking about the turnovers.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I mean,
feel like we bring it up at least like one time every episode. Like,
yeah, they turn it over a little more than you'd like to, and I think that's just a product of having so many ball handlers and playing at the pace Memphis does, flinging the ball up the court. But obviously, 7 from your big, you don't want that.
Yeah,
I think
can't
it's
be.
something. I mean, it's very noticeable too. I think to the fans because it's something they're used to. I don't know if y'all have. Personally, I'm a Grizzlies fan, so I've watched all the Grizzlies games this season, and the Grizzlies had the same issue. They turn the ball over. So I don't know if it's just something that runs in the city or what, but the turnovers definitely been something they need to clean up on. And hopefully these games against, as much as we talk about how you got to lock in and be ready for these lesser opponents and go in and play well, it's on the other hand, you're playing against these teams that aren't as good as the competition you faced in non-conference. This is a chance to clean up the turnovers and fine tune all the little things to get you ready for March.
Yeah, you would hope that's the goal. It doesn't seem like we're really itching to clean up turnovers, but a lot of basketball left to play, a lot of time to clean it up before March because you don't want to be turning the ball over 20 times in a tournament game. Well, I think that wraps up kind of our recap. Like you said, Landon mentioned a minute ago, we have East Carolina, the 8-7 Pirates, come to the FedEx Forum on January 11th, 2 p.m. Saturday, or it's 1, I guess, local time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. in the real time zone.
It's in the real time zone, it's 1 p.m., so excuse me. I'm still at the homestead, as you can see from my background here and the fact we're online. Um, Memphis is favored. I don't even know if they have. Yeah, there's not even a line for this game on the site. Uh, Memphis should win by a hefty margin. Just to play off. Any expectations for this game? Anything you're really itching to see Memphis improve on? Any players you're watching? Anything for this one?
I mean, for me, it's the turnovers. I think, as we just talked about, this is a chance to clean up the turnovers and just win this game like you're supposed to at home. It's a home game against an inferior opponent, coming off two big conference wins. So I expect Memphis to win pretty handily in this one.
I pretty much just want to see Memphis come out hot. Just don't let them hang around, obviously. But like, I mean, this should be in all reality a gimme. I mean, a lot of these games coming up should just be gimmies. But I mean, you know how this conference works. It's not like that. But just play your game, and I think Memphis is gonna win by like potentially 20 or so.
Yeah, I mean they're going to get East Carolina's best shot. We've talked about. This is their Super Bowl. East Carolina, by the way, ranked 177 in KenPom. So they're down there, 195 in offensive rating, 168 in defensive rating. So I mean, this is the unfortunate reality of the American Athletic Conference. Even if they win this game by 25, 30, it's that helps a little bit,
Yeah.
not much.
Cool, we
It's just
didn't
taking care
lose.
of business.
It's like a lose-lose. It's like a lose-lose for Memphis.
Yeah, I mean it'd be like a bye game in non-conference, basically.
You don't really gain anything from winning this. Just don't lose. Like,
But
sure as hell don't
yep,
lose.
if you're Memphis though, you can't sit here and complain. You got to play who's in front of you. You got to take care of business and handle it. That's all you can do.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, hopefully we will not be on. Hopefully we won't have any freezing cold takes from this little ending of the podcast here. I anticipate a hefty win, as we all do. Okay. Any more thoughts before we wrap it up?
It's a promising start to conference season.
You beat the two of the best teams in the conference. Now it's just let's get through this. Don't
Just
take
handle
any
business.
stupid loss.
Take care of business.
Except for Wichita. I'm staying true. Watch out Wichita State in February, man. I'm
Wichita,
just telling you, man.
no.
Watch out Wichita State in February. Actually,
When
I
is
think they
that
just
one?
got
Let's
blown out.
see.
I think they
We
just got blown out, actually.
They come to
Wichita
Memphis
State.
on Thursday, January 3rd. So you heard it from Devin. January 23rd, Thursday,
Watch
FedEx
out.
Forum. Fill
Watch
it up
out.
because Wichita's coming in with
Feel
vengeance.
it, that's right. They actually just got blown out by South Florida, and they lost Temple. So maybe I'm a little bit wrong. First time for everything, But
If we can get Ron
Wichita.
Baker back, we'll see.
The ghost of Fred VanVleet and Ron Baker is not walking through that door. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, that's all. All right. Missing Sam today. No Sam for all you. I know Sam has a lot of love, but he wasn't able to join us today, so just us three, and I think it's gonna do it for today. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time. Recap Temple, and what's the next match of Temple?
Charlotte.
Catch you next time.